Hello everyone, and thank you so much for choosing to click on this video. Today I wanted to discuss the new perfume from Britney Spears, Candied Fantasy. So before we begin, I wanted to give like a little bit of background and just say that the Fantasy perfume line began in 2005. We're now entering 2025. This is, I'm pretty sure, the 30th flanker of the Fantasy line, which kind of makes me think, you know, what's going to happen? We're coming up to the 20th anniversary of this perfume line. Is there going to be like a 20th anniversary edition? Is it going to end soon? You know, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of fantasies, and I've tried all of them apart from Rock Femme Fantasy, because that one is notoriously hard to find and I don't know why. But I really hope that soon I can smell it and try it and maybe even do a review. But for now, we've got this Candied Fantasy and I'm gonna talk about it, I guess, yeah. Please know that this review is based solely on my personal opinion and my preferences. Any facts or stuff like that I have tried to research and get them right, but there is a small chance they could be wrong, so please don't take this video as a fully factual video. It's just for fun and just for reviewing the perfume. I feel like the Fantasy line gets a bad reputation because people see it as kind of like a cheap gift set kind of perfume, just like as a cheap, like, here you go, here's a perfume kind of thing. I feel like maybe it used to be, but it seems that Cloud by Ariana Grande is kind of taken over that space. Cloud is the new Fantasy in the sense that, you know, it's like the cheap kind of like giftable perfume. This used to be that, but it isn't anymore. It's kind of Cloud now. You know, all that matters is that you enjoy the scent and that you think you smell nice. If you enjoy it, then you buy it. So Candied Fantasy comes in an ombre bottle that starts off light and ends dark and has a rose gold. I don't actually know what it's called, this bit, but it's rose gold. And it also has like the same kind of coloured diamond around it. All of the bottles of the Fantasy line, apart from the Naughty and the Nice remix, which are like tall, I'll put like a photo there, but they all pretty much have the same kind of like thing with like the diamonds, and they're all the same shape. I think it's a really pretty bottle. I think it's probably one of the nicest bottles that have been in the Fantasy line for a long time. One second, I'm gonna get the rest of them because I have all of the ones that have been released over the past couple of years. So this is the standard Fantasy bottle that you can buy right now. It looks, you know, like pretty similar. They've both got the pink vibe going on, the same shape and everything. So Fantasy does have like a very specific look that it's going for. However, when new ones come out, they're pretty much the same kind of thing, but with different colours. So this one is Jungle Fantasy, I'm pretty sure. There's so many that it's kind of hard to keep track. And it's kind of like an inverted version. Like this is pink with green, but this is green with pink. But then we also have like this one, which is the Festive Fantasy, which has multiple colours and it's like really cool. Or just ones like Naked Fantasy, which are just kind of sheer one coloured bottles. And yeah, just for fun, there's also these two. Electric Fantasy, which is kind of like, this almost smells to me like a dupe of Black Opium. So if you like Black Opium, I would buy this because I think it's relatively cheap and it smells very similar. Or Blissful Fantasy. And then they also brought out Fantasy Intense and Fantasy Sheer, which are just, as the name kind of suggests, this is like a more sheer version of Fantasy and this is a more intense version of Fantasy. So when you buy Candied Fantasy, it comes in a box like this. It's pink and it has little like art, like drawings of candy on it, like candy wrappers, which I think it's very cute, but it's not my favorite box from the Fantasy line. Like there's been a lot that are kind of more interesting, and I feel like the boxes are very hit and miss. For example, the box for Glitter Fantasy, which is actually one of my favorites in the line, is very strange. It looks like this. It's not my favorite design, and again, this one is not my favorite box design. I feel like it doesn't look as Fantasy kind of style as I would want it to. Like it's a little bit kind of like they've just kind of tacked some sweets on there and kind of made it look like that. I don't know, but it's okay. I also wanted to say as well, I'm not sure how much input Britney actually had on this perfume or the release of it, and I'm only saying this because in the promotional images that they used, the photo they used of Britney was taken in 2016. So that's like quite an old photo to be using for a perfume that came out in 2024. It's a little bit strange to me that they would use such an old photo, because it kind of gives the vibes that, you know, she wasn't really present like when it was created. But hopefully I'm wrong, and hopefully it's just that she didn't want to do the photo, and she, you know, it would be nice to know that she was involved in the creative process of this perfume. I also think that this perfume is priced very weirdly. It seems that like wherever you look, the prices are not like specific, they're very strange. For example, on a website called Luxe Perfume, you can get 100 milliliters, so this big bottle, for £17.15. But at Superdrug, you can get 30 milliliters for 13, which doesn't really make much sense to me that, you know, like for 100 milliliters and 30 milliliters, they're pretty much the same price. At Boots, 100 milliliters was £42, but it's on reduced to 21. And I actually got my bottle for free because I had Boots points, so I didn't pay a thing. I actually could not find a listing for a 50 milliliter bottle of this perfume, which makes me think that possibly the Fantasy line and Britney Spears perfumes are phasing out their 50 milliliter bottle size, and they're only going to offer 30 milliliters or 100 milliliters from now on, which I don't know for certain, but it's very strange that that's happening. Just for a size comparison, this is a 30 milliliter bottle and this is 100. So these are the two sizes that you can buy this in right now. I also wanted to say that since this bottle is a painted bottle from the Britney Spears line, usually the bottles that have paint on them tend to chip. So as you can see, there's you can't really see it. There's like a tiny little bit of chipping going on, but I have had some because it's been in my bag and been like with my keys and like all sorts. So the paint has chipped a little bit. I only really ever have this issue with the Fantasy bottles. For example, I had Circus Fantasy, which I literally just finished, but I'll put a photo there. And my bottle, because it's painted that blue colour, it had chipped on like all of it and it was pretty much just a clear bottle. So that's kind of an issue if you're someone who likes to keep your bottles and keep them for collection purposes. This might not be a line that you're going to want to kind of collect just because the bottles tend to chip. I'm going to show you my bottle of Rainbow Fantasy here. The paint is kind of coming off as well, which for me I'm not really mad about because these perfumes are generally quite cheap and they're not really like collector's items. They're just kind of basic perfumes and they're not like meant to be high class, but it can be annoying when your bottle chips and then it's kind of ugly to look at. So that's just something I thought I would let everyone know. So now let's get into the scent. Candied Fantasy is described on fragrantica.com as a floral, fruity, gourmand fragrance for women, and I do actually think that this one kind of smells very feminine. I don't really think this would work on like a very masculine guy, I guess. It's very sweet and it's very feminine kind of like scent. It's got florals in there and it's got like bubblegum. But the top notes are bubblegum, strawberry and orange. The middle notes are hibiscus, jasmine, sambac and lily of the valley. The base notes, cupcake, musk and sandalwood. So, but yeah, usually in the Fantasy fragrances there is some cupcake or some lily of the valley. Now, what I get most is the strawberry and the bubblegum and kind of nothing else. I don't really smell the florals or like the orange. It's very much it smells like strawberry bubblegum and I like it. I think it's very nice. I saw some people saying that it kind of smells like childish and it kind of smells like a very young scent. I don't disagree, but I don't think that only a young person could wear this. I think anyone could get away with wearing it because it's kind of like, it's just like a nice sweet smelling perfume. The bubblegum is very strong, so if you like bubblegum, this would be good for you. I mean, if you hate bubblegum, stay away because it's very bubblegum based. I think it's really, really interesting that this line is trying out like new scents because there's no bubblegum scent in the Britney line apart from this one. I think it's really cool to see them do something else. You know, we've got like a lot of the cupcakey like floral scents and a lot of like melon scents, but no, it's really cool that they're doing something different and trying like bubblegum. It's exciting to see like where the future of the brand is going to go. So usually the Fantasy perfumes and most of the flankers are eau de parfum. However, this one is an eau de toilette. I'm not exactly sure why. It seems that most of them are, and I'm assuming that it might just be cheaper to produce eau de toilettes than keep making eau de parfums all the time. It seems that within recent years they have cut a lot of corners with the Fantasy line. For example, the bottles just feel a lot cheaper than they used to be made. This is a 30 milliliter Fantasy from, I'm pretty sure, the very first release, and I feel like you can kind of see there's a lot of differences like just in how they're made, and I've had some bottles where the diamonds have fell out, like obviously the paint scratched off, and also on top of that, when this first came out there was even more diamonds on there. So to like cut costs, they removed a lot of the diamonds, which again, it's not like a huge issue. Like nobody's gonna not buy it because it's missing a few diamonds, but it's like it does kind of annoy me that it seems they are cutting corners, especially for someone so iconic as Britney. She kind of deserves to have like the best, I feel. I'm gonna put a photo there of the original bottle that had more diamonds, and they've also changed the boxes. The box used to come with like green ribbon, and it would like kind of open like this, like it was really cute, but now it just opens like a normal box. So yeah, that's a shame, but I guess they possibly couldn't have done that for every single version. I just kind of had to give it up. So this little bottle I have here is Toy 2 Bubblegum by Moschino, which I guess, you know, by the name and even by like the pinkness of it, you can kind of tell it's going to be very similar to this Candied Fantasy, and they do smell very, very similar. Toy 2 Bubblegum has candied fruits, bitter orange, and lemon as the top notes. The middle notes are bubblegum, Bulgarian rose, peach, blueberry, peach blossom, cinnamon, and ginger. And the base notes are musk, ambroxan, and cedar. So that's like 3 notes in here that are the same: musk, bubblegum, and orange. So while this doesn't have the strawberry, and this does, they smell very, very similar. So if you like Toy 2 Bubblegum, but don't want to pay that much, like, you know, I've seen 100ml bottles of this go for like upwards of £100, and this is like, what, £20 on Boots. I think it would be a good idea to buy this for moments that you don't want to use up all of your Moschino perfume, and this is just like a backup, because they do smell very, very similar. Now, this perfume launched in 2021, and this one launched in 2024. So this one came first, and it is strange that, you know, recently we had this, which people are saying is a dupe of Black Opium, and now this, which seems to kind of be a little bit of a dupe of the Moschino perfume. It is kind of bizarre to see the Fantasy line making such similar perfumes to things that already exist. Like, I would kind of hope that they're not trying to be a dupe line, and they're trying, you know, like they are trying to think of original ideas. But again, it is nice to have like backup bottles and things that smell similar, or even these would even be good to layer because of the similarities. I think they would smell really, really good together because they're pretty much identical. Now, for the branding, I don't think I would have called this Candied Fantasy. I feel like they could have just took the really easy route and just called it Bubblegum Fantasy, because that is essentially what it is. I feel like the word candied to me almost connotes with like candied fruits, like candied peel, candied orange, like that kind of thing. And although there is some orange in here, it's not what it smells like. It smells like bubblegum. It doesn't smell like a candied version of the original Fantasy. In fact, they almost smell like 2 completely different fragrances to me. Glitter Fantasy and Rainbow Fantasy almost smell more like a Candied Fantasy kind of scent than Candied Fantasy actually does. It's very strange because these are like the more sweeter versions of the Fantasy, the ones that smell like they've been kind of like, you know, they've amped up the sugar and they've added like sweeter notes to it. Candied Fantasy just kind of smells like Bubblegum Fantasy. So I think, you know, maybe they could have named it that and had like bubblegum on the box and not little sweets, because it doesn't smell like sweets, it smells like bubblegum. Now, since this is an eau de toilette, this one is obviously going to be a lot weaker. It's going to be more watered down, and it's not going to last as long. And yeah, the scent I feel like has faded on me already, and I've only been recording for about 5-10 minutes, so it is one that you're going to have to reapply. But it is a really cute scent. I think when it is initially sprayed, it smells really nice. It does tend to fade, and I don't think it's going to be like one that, you know, you like reaches out and kind of like makes people smell you. It's going to be one that's intimate and just nice for you, but people won't really be able to smell it. So I do think you would have to maybe buy the small one and keep it in your bag, or even just buy this one, because this one is so cheap. It might be even cheaper to buy this than the small one in some places. But yeah, you do kind of have to overspray and reapply with this. But the smell is so good. It's really, really nice. Candied Fantasy is one of my most favourite recent fantasy blancas. I wasn't really a fan of the Jungle Fantasy or the Blissful Fantasy, only because they just kind of smell like melon to me, and I kind of prefer like the artificial kind of sweet sugary scent. I'm not really like a fruity floral person, but if you are, these would be great. I really wasn't a big fan of this one. I feel like you can see by the fact that like I practically haven't used it, just because I think it's not the strongest fantasy flanker yet. I think that this Candied Fantasy is, you know, really a step in the right direction. I think if they would just kind of focus more on the branding and making their perfumes eau de parfums and not eau de toilettes, it's a really, really good step in the right direction for the brand. Another thing that I wanted to say, which doesn't really affect the perfume, but it does affect kind of just like the overall aesthetic, is that we have too many pink bottles. This one's pink, this one's pink, this one's pink, there's probably even more that are pink. They're all pink, and I feel like maybe we should branch out more and try different colours. It would be really cool if in the new year they came out with some fantasy bottles that were just kind of like a little bit different, because I do feel like we've had a lot of pink fantasy bottles and we don't need more. So my overall opinion of Candied Fantasy by Britney Spears is that I would recommend it if you like bubblegum, because that is pretty much what this smells like. It's a really good affordable fragrance which could be a good substitute for Moschino Toy 2 bubblegum if you don't want to use up all of that. This is a good thing to have as a backup bottle. I would recommend this perfume for people that want to smell more stereotypically feminine. It doesn't really have any kind of masculinity like to it. It's a very feminine focused scent, which I like that. I kind of like to smell sweet and pretty. I feel like it smells very pretty. It's a very pretty scent. Thank you so much for watching my review of Candied Fantasy by Britney Spears. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if you agree with things that I said, if you disagree, if you're wearing this, if you want to try it, or any recommendations as well. What would you like to see me review? Thank you again. Goodbye. Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. In this video I wanted to discuss the new Britney Spears Candied Fantasy perfume. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time viewing me, welcome to my channel. Today I want to do a little review of the newest Britney Spears. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and happy new Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and it would be cool to see, like, you know, some fantasy bottles that aren't in the pink. They're in the pink. So before you phasing out the 50ml bottles and only making 30ml